Hello? Beep beep. Hey folks, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching the Court of the Edijester. I appreciate it greatly, and I thought it might be of interest if I gave you a flavour, so to speak, of what we do on the Winning Mindset programme and what the women and the men that are on that programme are trying to learn and to put into practice, because it ain't as simple as you think it is. And I thought that might be interesting if we could do something around what we see currently happening in our movement, and maybe you can take this on in consideration, in perhaps taking a look and seeing whether or not you think that I'm right or you think that I'm wrong. Now, using the wonderful and marvelous modern technology of video editing, I'm hoping that what I'm going to talk about is over here. I've still not got the hang of it yet, but I will get there, okay? And I wanted to talk about something that I call learner's internal dialogue, that somebody who a warrior teacher is talking to, or that any of us in the movement is trying to get somebody to understand what's going on, is to try to understand what might be happening in their head. And this is called the learner's internal dialogue. What we're saying is, when we ask someone to abandon a widely held belief about themselves, or a piece of information they've got that is wrong, or even a complete belief system that is wrong, it is very important, I think, for all of us to understand what we are asking that person to do. The first thing that is likely to happen when somebody is asked a question is that they will end up in one of the 4 columns that you can see here, and they will begin asking themselves internally, who will be affected if I change my practice? A good example of this would be when we say to people, you must not use incorrect pronouns. You must not use incorrect pronouns, which is an absolutist position. It is my position, just so you know that. That's my position, right? But my position is tempered by various things. So when I say to somebody, don't do it, you mustn't do it, and they say to me, if I was to speak up at work, I'd lose my job. Don't speak up at work. Do what you have to do to keep yourself secure. Because if you aren't financially secure, if you can't look after yourself and your family, then just by doing something like that, you'll take yourself out of the game. And that's the last thing we want to do, is take anybody out of the game. We need all we can get to push to see the occurrence that happened in the House of Lords occur again on multiple levels. So I might ask that person, or say to that person, you must not use pronouns, you're a swine for using pronouns, or you're a swine for not using pronouns, you're a rude person who doesn't take other people's feelings into account. We will think to ourselves internally in our own dialogue, who will be affected if I change what I do? What consequences will there be for X person, somebody you know, your family member? If you suddenly go in, well, I'm not calling a he, she, or, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to call a he, she. If either of those positions then affect your familial relationships, are you financially secure enough to take that knock? Are you emotionally secure enough? Are you mentally secure enough to take that knock? That's the sort of questions people will ask themselves. Will the knowledge that I'm getting disrupt my social world? This is the questions people will be asking themselves in terms of relationships. What are the trade-offs in my relationships? Where will the trade-offs be? And will there be pain? How will my status be affected? What will change? This is the kind of internal dialogue that people have under relationships. What about application? So, okay, nobody should use pronouns for the wrong sex. My position, right? Can I use this knowledge? How will I use this knowledge? When can I use this knowledge? What happens when I use this knowledge? This knowledge will hurt people, or denial. This isn't as simple as we think it is. Can I use this knowledge? Well, if you're working in an organisation which insists on all of this, and you're raising 2 children on a single wage because you're a single mother or a single father, then I imagine that using this knowledge is not something that you can do. It simply isn't possible for you to do it, because you will tear yourself out from being able to be involved in this. And then we have the consequences comes next. For example, this isn't an order, by the way. Not an order. You don't go, well, first of all, I'll do relation. No, it's just what's going on in your head, and I've tried to categorize it. Will I lose friends? Will I lose social standing? How do I explain this and maintain stability? Will I lose face? What if I'm wrong? What if the warrior teacher is right? How will my future look? And finally, we then have contingencies. What can I not foresee? God, if I tell my family that I'm not doing this nonsense anymore, what will happen? What can't be seen? If I tell my boss I'm not doing it anymore, what will happen? What is the worst that can happen? What is the best outcome? Who will be there if I fall? Can I live with myself? What will I do to cope with loss? What are my future expectations? Those of us that were thrust into this, like me, have had to find ways to keep going. And I'm now in a situation where I'm keeping going with the help of all the people that support me and the wonderful people that are attending my course who have been through this with me in Module 8. It allows me to go, I'm not using pronouns for any of you, male or female. To use pronouns for anyone, male and female, is a huge safeguarding fail in regards to children. Okay, that's my statement. The three lenses that we look at this from, the first lens is safeguarding. The second lens is educational triage, which is an explanation and a reaffirmation to the young person or child that the enlightenment mattered, the scientific process matters, reality matters, yeah, all of that matters, okay? That we do not, that you being steeped in critical thinking matters. That's the educational triage, okay? That's the next thing that comes up. And then finally, out of the three levels that you would use comes therapeutic intervention. Currently, therapeutic intervention seems to be first. I don't like that because I think most of this is an educational problem. That's my position. So I'm saying to you, I want you to take my position. Take on board what I'm saying. I'm trying to say to you or discuss with you in a persuasive way that we should have safeguarding first, education second, and then therapeutic intervention third when it comes to a child saying I'm trans or I'm non-binary. That's what I think. That's it. That's the order. Safeguarding what's going on in that child's life. That's the first thing, because safeguarding means that nobody gets through the hole. Nobody gets through the gap. Safeguarding, right? What's going on in that child's life? Because it is a safeguarding issue if a child decides that they are trans or non-binary or believes any of this bullshit. It's a safeguarding issue. First. Second is education. Right, you might think that, but you're 12 and you know sweet Fanny Adams. Go and talk to that person who is going to give you a number of lessons over the next week that will make you realise why what you're saying is absolute cobblers. All right? That's how you start. Not therapeutics. But what this also allows us to consider with this learner's internal dialogue is exactly when what we're asking of people when they are supposed to give up what, where, and how they do what they do to help the movement, because we are an absolutist who believes that the only way to do this is to not use the pronouns. I just want us to understand what we're asking people to give up. That's all. Everybody along the path, everybody who's got involved didn't all suddenly go 10 years ago, when many of the women were blowing the whistle, by the way, 10 years ago, suddenly go, oh, right, okay, here we go. Yeah, got it. Right, I'm all on board. They didn't. Some people have been in this 2 months. Some people have been in it 6 months. Some people have been in it 18 months. I've lost 3 men I was working with because of the furore that's been happening over the last few days, because they now think the absolutist position is the only one. And I nearly had them. We must parallel process. There are people doing their own thing. They are in a certain position. They may not think the way that we do. You've seen that wonderful roller coaster thing where the old GCs are all skeletons reaching out and the people just arriving are like looking perfectly normal. There's some truth in that. You must understand what we are asking people to give up. And if you want to teach people to understand the position that I take, you never use pronouns for these people. Never, right? If I want people to understand that, I can scream about it on Twitter, which I do, or I can quietly, in the conversations that take place in other places, persuade, discuss, and at the end of the day, not make them think that I'm right, but make them think that they might be wrong, in which case they'll go looking for more information. This, to me, is an educational problem, primarily. Now, that's an excerpt from Module 8. I'm quite happy to take the brickbats you're going to throw at me. You can do whatever you like. But remember, what the Warrior Teacher Program does is enables us to put on a teaching hat and to take ourselves out of the equation and to ask questions. Why do you think that? Why do you think that's a problem? Describe exactly to me why you feel that's important to ask questions. I'm not saying you don't take the absolutist view, because I'll take it every chance I can on Twitter. I'm saying that there's more than one way to win this battle. One way is to hold the line, and that's vital that we hold the line on safeguarding. The other way is also to learn to be more persuasive and to question and to understand others and to see where we can change minds. Because we need to hold the line so we know what we're changing the minds to. We're all in this together. For the love of God, can we stop fighting? I'll see you later.